Hey guys, it's Vandy as by Craft Vanguard deck profiles. But has enjoyed Dermatolite constant Scott Sorry. This time we're covering DZLM set 2 for Froselia. So Froselia is that one promo grade 3 that Lyrical Monasterio got a long time ago. It was like at the very start of DZ, where pretty much she focuses on having a bunch of vanilla units, like actual vanilla units, and then giving them extra powers and stats. And she honestly has a really good ability to help circumvent the fact that you're running vanillas because she can call multiple rear guards at once. She can add normal orders to your hand, and she allows you to initiate multi-attacking while also giving them extra power and shield all in one go. So it's a very powerful grade 3, but again, you can only get so far when you have a bunch of vanilla units. Turns out I never actually did deck profile on this deck, which I thought I did for the longest time, and then when I finally realized that I didn't, I've been trying to do one for a while now, and I just keep putting it off, but now I finally have a reason to do it because Lyrical Monasterio just got a bunch of support. So let's see what we got, because honestly, we got a lot of good cards that are in here that we can go over. First today, we have our Energy Generator, is our Ride deck crest. You may only have one Ride deck crest in your Ride deck. Auto Ride deck, when you ride, plus a card to your crest zone. If you want second Energy Charge 3, contains 2 magic 10 energy, auto begin right face Energy Charge 3, then act once per turn, Energy Blast 7, draw a card. On pretty solid, you get free 3 energy every turn. If you went second, you get an extra 3 on top of that. And once you have 7 more energy, you can blast 7 to draw. The best part about Froselia's skill is that she does cost energy. However, she only costs 2 energy, and you get 3 every single turn. So no matter what, if you ever get into a situation where you can energy blast 7, you can afford to do so because more likely than not, you can also use Froselia's skill in the exact same turn. And there are cards in this deck that actually do energy charge, so you don't have to worry about using the energy blast 7 skill if it does come up, as long as you have access to Froselia's skill, because that skill is really important for the deck's gimmick. Moving on, we have our starter in Brilliance in the Orwellista. Grids with boost 5k, shows this base, auto reply for second draw card. Standard starter and up is just a free draw if you go second. The only unit cards in the deck that have a skill is Froselia and the rest of the ride line. So pretty much you can be as creative with the ride line as you want, so long as you know what you're doing with it. Personally, I chose to go with the Ballista ride line because it allows you to access more orders, and we want more orders into drop zone. But you could make this any ride line you want to, just be aware of that. I just chose to make it the Ballista ride line because of the order reason. On to our triggers, we have our over trigger and greatest star or Tanza. Grades with boost 50k shield, 5k power. Over trigger in your deck, reveals as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose zombies, get plus 1 for the turn. If ability during a jet check, activate the additional fight, which you, the player, you get during this fight, you get during your turn. All your rear guards get 10,000 power. That's a very powerful over trigger if you sack it offensively, because when you do sack it offensively, your entire rear guard, which is already a vanilla, but they do get extra power from the Vanguard, now get more power on top of it. Your rear guard columns get 20k in total, your Vanguard column is 10k in total. Erstons is a very powerful over trigger to pull. You can make this any of the Lyrical Monasterio over triggers because they all share the same effect as Ertanza. You could make this Volnut to have more multi-attacking. You could make this Esphoria to have crit pressure, or even Esphoria to again have more multi-attacking and the ability to heal damage. But I choose to make it Ertanza because if you do sack her, you're pretty much bullying down your opponent with a deck that can already make rear guards out the wazoo. So yeah, it kind of makes sense to go for a beat down. And then we have our normal triggers, and I emphasize the normal part. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that because Froselia gives them all extra shield and power anyway, so it benefits you to run normal triggers. So we have 3 forward wheel Theoreta, grades with boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Vanilla front trigger, make this any front you want. Just chose to make it the one that was from Merlin's trial deck because, I don't know. Then we have a total of 8 crit, 4 being Glutonora, grades with boost, 50k shield, 5k power. 4 cheerful Sunside Walls, grades with boost, 50k shield, 5k power. For the record, all these cards that you're seeing that don't have skills, it's not because they get benefits out of Froselia that you run them. I mean, yes, they do. But it's also because Froselia literally prevents you from calling anything that does have a skill to guard circle or rear guard circle. So quite literally, you do have to run vanillas. Then we have 4 heals and talkative our Tamus. Great so boost 50k shield, 5k base, just the standard heal. All these triggers, you can make them whatever you want as long as it follows this trigger lineup. Then we move on to our grade 1s. First up, we have 4 copies of Hasty Low for Nina, grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base. Moving on, Theater Lesson Nefertiti, grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base. Both of them are vanilla grade 1s because, again, we want to pull off as many vanillas as possible for the Vanguard skill. There isn't a lot of vanillas in general in Lyrical Monasterio. In fact, the one good thing that came out of the DZ set start decks, the ones that introduced the Energy Generator, where they had a bunch of vanillas and the only card in the actual trial deck itself was the main grade 3 that had a skill. The only thing that came out of those things that was good was the fact that Froselia can actually take advantage of all the vanillas in there. Moving on, we have our grade 1 of the Ride deck, Proof of Effort Ballista, grade 1 boost 5k shield, AK base, auto and Rotapon, put a card from your hand to your soul, search your deck for 1 gem card, reveal per to hand, shuffle your deck. So we do run one of the gem orders in here because Froselia wants to have orders and drops, like I mentioned earlier, and being able to hard search them while also sending cards to soul, and Froselia does actually require soul along with a few of our orders, is actually a really good skill. And then if you somehow ever did get this card onto rearguard circle, which is not possible in this deck, but if you did, auto rearguard when you would play an order soul boss 1, she gets 5,000 power for the turn. But again, this was physically impossible to get this card onto the rearguard circle before Froselia is even on the vanguard circle, which prevents you from calling her. So one in the ride deck for the gem search. And then of course we move on to our grade 2s, 4 of both vanillas, Rapid Glowing Firebed Celine and Playful Scribbling Seri. And then we have 1 of in the ride deck and then the main deck of Expanding World Willista, grade 2 instead of 5k shield, 10k base. The continuous guard circle skill, which again will never be proccable once you do get to Froselia because you can't call cards with skills to guard circle. She'll get 5,000 shield for every 2 gem cards in your drop zone, which even in this deck wouldn't be a lot. There's only 2 gems, so the best should be a 10k shield. And then auto Vanguard circle once per turn when you play a gem card, draw a card. So that's kind of the point of this deck, right from the grade 1 to the grade 2. Search your deck for True Hearted Ruby. You play True Hearted Ruby, you draw 3 cards, try to get guard power and orders into your hand, fill up your drop zone with the orders, and keep the guard power in hand so that way you don't die to your opponent's aggressive rush, especially if they went first, because you won't have Froselia's extra shield power going second. So one of in the ride deck of the grade 2 Willista. And then of course the last unit card in the deck, but again we have a bunch of orders we can go through, would be 3 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck, a Flush Brush Froselia, grade 3 channel persona, 13k base. The main gimmick of this card, continues Vanguard Circle. You yourself, so this only applies to the player playing this card, cannot call unit cards with any continuous, act, or auto abilities to both rearguard and guard circle. Basically what that means, and as you saw we don't have PGs in this deck, is you can't call a PG to guard circle because it has a auto ability. It also has a continuous ability. Same with everything else in here, which is why all of these are vanillas. Thankfully these do count as actual vanillas. Then we have continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your units on the guard circle in general get 5,000 shield, and if you play an order this turn, your front row units get 5,000 power as well. And that procs defensively, which means if you play a blitz order, your front row gets 5k, so he's an 18k base, which is actually really good because this deck does have a fair amount of blitz orders. And defensively in general, your units get extra 5k shield, which is super helpful for defending, especially if you do end up going first. That way you can have that aggressive pressure on your opponent, but still have a little bit of defensive pressure going into the next turn inherently, instead of, having to go second and then letting your opponent have a turn of beating you down with their grade 3 units. And that applies to every unit, which means if you somehow found a way to get rid of this skill for Zelia, you could apply this to units with skills, but again, you can't with the way this deck works. And then Act Vanguard once per turn, the best search skill in the entire world, and I guarantee you the only reason it is this good is because it's in a deck that is based around having mostly vanillas. Once per turn, Act Vanguard Circle, Soul Boss 1, Energy Blast 2, check the top 7 for up to 2 unit cards, call them to rearguard circles, and then choose up to 1 order card from among them, reveal it, put it to hand, and shuffle the deck. The only downside to this is that it does have the ability to whiff, and you could see 3 Froselias, and it doesn't add any of them to hand. That is the only way it could have been better, is if it allowed you to add the cards to hand instead of just inherently calling them. But either way, being able to get you 2 rear guards and an order card, so pulling 3 cards out from your deck for a simple Soul Blast, which you almost get every single turn, and 2 energy, which again you do get every turn, is an incredibly good search skill. And again, the only reason is this good is because the deck is based around having vanillas. And then Auto Vanguard, when attacks anything, regardless of grade, CB1, choose on your rear guards and stand it. But if your drop zone has 5 or more different order cards, can be set orders, can be normal orders, can be blitz orders, can be a combination of 3, choose up to 2 rear guards instead of 1. So she can stand at least 1 rear guard guaranteed, but she can possibly stand a column or get you 5 attacks, especially on your first grade 3 turn, again pumping your rear guard by 5k. Honestly, she's an amazing grade 3. Literally the only thing that holds her back is like the deck that she has to be in for her skills to go off, but she is an amazing grade 3. She adds power, she adds shield value, she gets one of the best search skills in the entire game, hands down, on a main Vanguard no less, and she initiates multi-attack all for 1. Literally the only thing that holds her back is the skill that actually prevents her from being broken, because I guarantee you if it wasn't for this skill, this card would be beyond busted and it would be on the ban list the second it was released. 3 of them in the main deck of Froselia, 1 of them in the ride deck. It is the only unit with skills that you can afford to run because you place her on the Vanguard Circle immediately for Persona rights. Moving on to our several orders, 2 copies of True Heart Ruby, grade 0 normal order, play it by counterblasting 1. You draw 2 cards, you choose a card from hand, you ditch it, and you put this card to soul. So this is a way to get soul, for Froselia, because there are other orders that do cost soul, so there are cards that could take away from Froselia's skill. So being able to send this card to soul is helpful because it also allows you to have soul boss fodder that gets more orders into drop zone. It being able to discard cards is great because it's your way to discard orders and again try to fill up the drop zone as fast as possible for Froselia's ability, and it only costs a CB and gets you 2 draws out of it as well. So it's a very good card, and again it does combo really well with the Willista ride line, being able to search it and get you 3 draws on your grade 2 turn, so solid 2 of. Then we have Elementary Sanctitude. So while we can't run normal Sentinels, this card doesn't go to Guard Circle because it's a Blitz order, meaning we can run at least one Sentinel. So grade 1, Blitz order, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have 4 Sentinel cards in your deck. Continuous, you may only have 1 Elementary Sanctitude in your deck. This is the triple drive version, so if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive, this ability can be played without paying the cost. Play it by discarding a card from your hand while your Vanguard is grade 3 or less. Choose a use and it cannot be hit out of battle, and then you remove this card. So cool, it's a way to nullify your opponent's attack, and if they have a Vanguard that has triple drive specifically, it's a way to nullify it for free. It's a very solid card to have, and it's our only way to have a PG in the deck. Thankfully, Froselia has the ability, which is rare by the way, to pull any single order from the top 7 search, so she can add Sanctitude, even though most cards will prevent you from adding Sentinels, and she can even add a Regalia's piece, ahem, to your hand. So it's a very solid PG to have because it does combo well with Froselia. And then speaking of which, Twin Cast. Okay, but real quickly, the one thing I want to know about Sanctitude is because you have to remove the card. That's the one thing it doesn't have synergy with Froselia, because you want to have orders in drop zone. So because it removes itself, you can't add towards Froselia's restand skill, but it's fine. You know, you work with what you got, and I mean, it's a PG. No one can be picky. Speaking of Twin Cast, we have Protection Twin Cast, grade 2, Blitz order, Regalia's piece. You may only have a Regalia's piece in your deck, and you can only use a total of 1 time per fight. Choose whenever use being attacked, it gets 10,000 power for the battle. So Froselia's a 23k base. Cool. Technically be a 28k base, because second you play the order, she'll get the 5k power. And then Continuous, this card's auto ability can be resolved even if you resolve a Regalia's piece ability during this fight. Basically what that means is you can play this ability, and then once this card hits the drop zone, it does have to be for a separate battle, but once the card hits the drop zone, you can then use this next ability, which is auto drop zone. When your unit is being attacked, remove this card from the drop zone and choose every unit that's attacked, and it gets 5,000 power to end the battle for each grade of that unit. So it gets to the power of the unit being attacked, which basically means if Froselia's attacked, she gets plus 15,000 power. Now that ability will not count as playing an order, because that counts as just activating the order ability from the drop zone, but doesn't count as playing an order. Simply similar to how Mask of Hedrigum's Persona Ride doesn't count as playing an order, even though it was used from drop zone. So just keep that in mind when you're comboing with Twin Cast, but it is a very solid order to have in the deck defensively. Then we have another defensive order, 1 Vibrant Symphony, grade 2 Blitz order. If an attack hit your Vanguard this turn, choose one of the attack units, give it plus 30,000 power for the battle. It is not the best Blitz order, especially because the Vanguard has to take a hit, but I mean, that's a free 30k shield right there. And I mean, we do have other orders that back it up as well. So again, it's not the worst thing in the world. We have a total of 6 Blitz orders, and then we have like a total of, I want to say it's 7 normal orders, so we balance it out pretty well. Then we have 2 Still Knock, grade 2 Blitz order, perform one of the following. Either choose unit being attacked, it gets 10,000 power to end a battle. If your opponent's attacking unit is a rear guard, however, it gets 20,000 instead of 10k. And then if attack hit your Vanguard this turn, choose unit being attacked, and it gets 30,000 power till the end of the battle. Okay, considering you can only play 1 order per turn, and Froselia only costs 1 CB, you pretty much only ever need 2 CB at a time, if that. And basically what I'm telling you is that because you have a lot of Blitz orders and a lot of normal orders, go ham on your grade 2 and grade 1 turn defensively and offensively, because it gets you more orders into your drop zone. And again, Froselia can deck them for the rest of them, and odds are she will hit one of the top 7, so you don't have to worry about using your cards early, because more likely than not, your opponent's going to hit you like hell later on. So might as well use them early, have low damage count, because you can do a lot with just 1 or 2 CB. And then the 30k Vanguard hit skill is just really solid, so this card's an amazing order. Then we have Clean, grade 2 normal order, play it by counterblasting 1, draw a card, choose a unit, give it 5,000 power for the turn. It's just there because it can increase your hand and give someone 5k. It's a simple CB for that one. Then we have Harmonious Offshoot, grade 2 normal order, play it by energy blasting 2, choose 3 of your rear guards with different card names, they get 5,000 power for the turn. Odds are you will have units with different card names, and it does only cost 2 energy. It's the only other card in the deck that costs energy, so sometimes you'll end up using it instead of using your energy generator skill, which is good because again, it pumps up your rear guards, and it does benefit from Froselia's restand skill. Following that, we have Thoughts into Forms, grade 2 normal order. If you have 6 or more units in play, you can Soul Blast 2 for this card, countercharge 1. You really only do this if you have been ramming your CB orders out the wazoo, and you really need to use Froselia's restand skill that turn. But again, be aware that it does cost 2 soul, but it's the only other card in this deck that does cost soul, so you don't have to worry too much about it because it is only at 1 copy. Then we have 2 copies of Sweet X Sweet because it can create rear guards, so it's a grade 2 normal order as well. Play it by C being 1 to check the top 5 for up to 1 unit card, call to rear guard, circle, shuffle the deck. This is your way preferably to pull any of your vanillas out of deck. This is sometimes may pull you out of trigger because again, you can't call Froselia from this ability, but being able just to get a rear guard onto your board is great because it does give your front row 5k inherently thanks to Froselia's skill. I mean, worst case scenario is getting your rear guard and is deck thinning in some way, shape, or form, so 2 of Sweet X Sweet. Then we have 2 Winterlife Check It, because this is just a really good generic order for some reason. Grade 2 normal order, just for free, no restrictions to this whatsoever. So if you want to play this on grade 2 instead of the gem cards, you can, because maybe your opponent CB starved you, or maybe you flip to the over defensively. Energy charge 3, if you persona road this turn, counter charge 1 as well. So it's a way to get 3 energy to use both Froselia's ability and your energy generator's ability, but if you also persona road, you get to counter charge 1, which basically means you can use Froselia's full ability to the max. Very solid order there for getting resources, good 2-up. And then the last order in the deck is our last Blitz order, Luminous Fountain, grade 3 Blitz order. If you have 3 or more rear guards, all units being attacked at 15,000 power for the battle. You know, it's just an FU to things like Vermilion that can attack multiple things at once. It's a very solid Blitz order. It gets 15k. Not much more I can say about it. And without further ado, this is it for this one. I hope you guys enjoy. Honestly, this deck is actually like really fun to play. Like, you have to be very strategic with all the vanillas you have in here. You have to make sure your rear guards don't die easily, because this deck doesn't really have a way of recycling them, and there's not a lot of Lyrical Monasterio cards that can do that to begin with that are orders. And we have a lot of really good defensive options that the deck can search out for, and a lot of aggressive options as well. And Froselia, again, literally the only thing holding her back from being the best grade 3 in the world is the skill. If they found a way to remove that skill from Froselia, automatically Bushy has created a monster, and Froselia may or may not hit the ban list immediately. So I'm gonna this one here. I hope all of you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join Discord, follow Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Dr. Snip, your Vanguards.